Welcome back to another Boxscore Geeks show. We did not disappoint. We did not lie. It is indeed time for playoffs, 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 Brian. And had we recorded yesterday, I would have a much different tune, but I have to be somber as the Denver Nuggets are 1-1. But Brian, a lot of what we said came true. We're going to talk about it. We also, Brian, thankfully, got an update on the finalists for various awards and did discover who the sixth man of the year is. It's going to be a shocker. And then I think we'll talk some player polls, and that'll be the show. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing okay. I'm a little run down, but the playoffs energize me whenever I watch them. I watched all 8 games over the weekend. That was great. And I think there was 4 per day, right? Yeah. So 3 more tonight, and we are monitoring the situation. The middle of round 1 of the playoffs, and man, it's exciting. There's a lot of good teams and players going right now.
I am going to say, by the way, Brian, the player poll has me excited, but let's do
The
this
player
right.
poll.
Let's just start with the playoffs. Now, one thing I absolutely love is actually one of the playing games that we got to enjoy. Your Golden State Warriors proved me right in a way that I freaking hate, Brian. So when we were coming down to the end of the regular season, for those of you that don't remember, heading into the last day of the regular season, the Denver Nuggets, I want to say the Memphis Grizzlies and the Los Angeles Clippers were in a very precarious position where, based on who won or who lost, or and Minnesota Timberwolves, I think too, right? We're in this weird position where, based on who won and who lost, you could go as high as third and as low as seventh. And I was talking to you, Brian. I was like, absolute worst case. If the Nuggets get the sixth or seventh seed, it's not the worst case scenario. And my logic basically was if we look at the brackets, one plays eight, four plays five, three plays six, two plays seven. The winner of four versus five plays number one, which is OKC. And so what happened is Nuggets won out. They won the fourth seed, gave as much ammo as you can to Nikola Jokic winning MVP. I still think Shea gets it in large part just because OKC is that good. And, the combination of voter fatigue, Nikola Jokic won it last year. Probably like, this is annoying cascade. Shea probably deserves it from last year as well as this year. Don't tell people I said that, but he does. Probably deserves it for last year as well as this year, but he didn't get it last year because Jokic got it last year, and arguably Jokic got it last year because it was a makeup for Embiid the year before. So we have a combo where I'm saying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander 100% deserves it on his own. But even if you were in the camp of, well, Nikola Jokic has a good case, he has too much running against him. Voter fatigue, he won it last year. His team got worse than last year. Shea is on one of the most dominant teams of all time. So I could see him winning it, which is remarkable because, Brian, at this point, what that means is averaging a triple double in the NBA has a 1 for 5 hit rate on winning MVP in history.
That's right. Westbrook did not get it that year. Is that right?
He did it 3 times. He won it for the first year he did it. He
Oh, I see,
repeated
but
it and
not
didn't get it.
after. Yeah,
And
yeah,
he
yeah.
actually went over to the Washington Wizards and did it a third time.
Oh, I forgot about that.
So there's that. And then they traded him away, and the Washington Wizards have not made the playoffs since. So there's that. And like I said, makeup. Shea honestly deserved it last year. I'll say that. But the real rough part is the Nuggets ended up in the same part of the bracket as the Thunder. The Warriors lost home court, but are in this part away. So the Warriors are kind of in the best position to get to the Western Conference Finals. And the reason being, like, if we watched in game one of the NBA playoffs, what was the final tally? Was it something like 50 points? But OKC just took a buzzsaw through Memphis. Um, on the flip side, Golden State won their first game against Houston. And a bigger point I'll make is that was a close game between Golden State and Memphis. And I am hyper conflicted on that game because I do feel like if Memphis hadn't sat a player for foul trouble, I was like talking to you, like trying to read the tea leaves. I think Memphis had a shot of winning that first game. Um, and had some weird playing. I don't think it was coaching as much as player decision. I know those tend to be related, but they did just play the players they would have. But I guess what I'm saying is Memphis and Golden State were a close game. Golden
Houston,
State, or
Houston.
no. I'm saying Memphis, or yeah, no, I'm saying it right. Memphis and Golden State for the playing game were a close game. Golden State goes on to play
Oh,
Houston and wins their first game. Memphis goes on to play Oklahoma and gets demolished. So I'm just
Because I'm saying,
noting,
yeah, that was not a close game. Memphis just played Dre, but I
yeah.
understand you now.
So that's what I'm saying
The game before.
is that I love Golden State. I love what they did. I love what Jimmy Butler did in the play-in game because it's, I was very snarky on Twitter. I think you even liked it, or on Blue Sky. I was very snarky on Blue Sky and I was like, I'm gonna give it a little more time before we decide if it was a good idea to trade for Jimmy Butler. Because just to give that, let me see if I can look it up really quick on Basketball Reference. But on tax day, taxes were definitely due, and Golden State collected from Memphis. On tax day, you had Jimmy Butler getting 38 points on 12 for 20, shooting 7 rebounds, 6 assists, 3 steals, only 2 turnovers. I mean, just Brian, heck of a statement game. Look at that backcourt. Jimmy Butler, 38 points, Steph Curry, 37, a combined 8 for 17 from three. I mean, how can you not love that?
Yeah, the stat I really like is 13 for 13 free throws from Steph Curry, who usually doesn't get to the line that often. Of course, 12 for 18 from Jimmy Butler from the line.
Mm,
Pedestrian for Jimmy.
yeah, needs to pick it up a little. But yeah, so I guess all I'm saying is there's a world where that game flips. Golden State goes and plays the Oklahoma City Thunder and gets demolished. And you and I were talking a little bit about this game where, firing the coach has been the big story both for the Denver Nuggets and the Memphis Grizzlies. And should you fire a coach before the playoffs? And jury's still out. You put that worm in my head and every listener's head last show of like, yeah, the Nuggets fired their coach, and everybody says that's bad, but is it bad? And the same point applies to the Grizzlies. And what I'm just saying is going, do people not understand just how great the Oklahoma City Thunder were this season? They put up a margin that has never been seen before. A 12.7 SRS is ridiculous. Here's a good example of two things, Brian. This is using the SRS system and also arguing why the SRS and systems like ELO, which is the rating system used in chess, don't work particularly well for basketball. Going into the last game of the NBA season, the Oklahoma City Thunder had an SRS of 12.75. They played I forget, like the New Orleans Pelicans. They played some no-name team. They already had their seed locked up. They had they had no reason to play. There was, no reason. It was the New Orleans Pelicans. They had no reason to play, so all of their starters sat. They started Kenrich Williams, Aaron Wiggins, Dylan Jones, Isaiah Joe, and Jalen Williams. That was their starting five. Alex Caruso didn't dress off the bench, as an example. They won that game by 15. Their SRS went down half a point, or 0.05 points. They went from 12.75 to 12.7. So they won a game by 15 against a bad team, against a 21-61 team, and a 15-point win was bad for them. And this reminds me of chess. So like Magnus Carlsen, greatest of all time. If Magnus Carlsen gets a draw against a grandmaster of a rating of 2,600, which is completely understandable, that's what is supposed to happen, his rating goes down. So they're in that category. They are a super team to where they can win a game by 15 and it actually dings them. And that is my top level point to ELO SRS. Why it doesn't work is in chess, Magnus Carlsen is always Magnus Carlsen. He's one person, you're judging him against another. When you are trying to judge strength of a team versus strength of another team, sometimes things you can miss are this wasn't the Oklahoma City Thunder starters that were playing the Pelicans. It was the Oklahoma City's bench playing the New Orleans Pelicans. And it does also look like the New Orleans Pelicans bench. So it's going the difference between the Thunder's bench and the Pelicans bench was zero point zero 0.05 worse than the difference between the Oklahoma City's Thunder starters and the New Orleans Pelicans starters, all things being equal.
Sure,
Not
I'll
sure.
say something about the
Oh
Thunder.
yeah, okay. Yeah.
They're really good. No, I think they are the best team of all time because the NBA is so much harder now. There's all the international players. There's so many more teams. We say this a million times, but you can't look at those Boston teams when the league was so small and compare them to modern teams. So when it's so hard to guard in the NBA right now that pundits are saying let's look into getting rid of the corner 3-pointers. Let's look into, reinstating hand checking, just different ways to reduce scoring. And they are still able to be this all-time great defense in this era. Yeah, they are amazing.
Absolutely love it. I mean, I think the thing you probably like the most is, if you compare them to, say, the Bulls of the 96 Bulls 72 win or the 67 win, I forget one, the first year with Kevin Durant for the Warriors that were both the best in the NBA in offense and defense. The Thunder this season are only, as silly as that sounds, third in the NBA in offense, but they are first in the NBA in defense. The thing they are crushing the most on is defense overwhelmingly. And you can see the difference. Their offense is 107.5. It's really hard to, these are hard things to do without accounting for era, because 107.5 defensive rating means over 100 possessions, the Thunder will give up 107.5 points. And you take that back to someone from the 60s, and they're like, how are you giving up 107 points over 100 possessions? But that's just, 3-point modern era. Their offense, though, is 120.3, but that's only good enough for third in the league. So it's pointing out that the absolute best teams in the NBA right now, and I'm actually curious about this. It's what, like Denver or the best in offensive rating this season. The best
Yeah,
were Cleveland,
Cleveland, Boston, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma, Boston being the off. That's awesome. And then Denver is only fourth at 119.
So Boston, I think, set a lot of records for made threes this year, and maybe attempts as well. Like they just bombed away from three.
You're right. 53.6% 3-point field goal rate, which is awesome. And then, man, why wouldn't you have it on the same chart? And then their 3-point accuracy only, Brian. Actually, they're down at ninth. So they 36.8% from three, but over 50% of their shots from three, which was almost 7% higher than number two, the Golden State Warriors. But that's just the point. The fact that in the modern NBA current league, the best teams on average are scoring 120 points plus per 100 possessions, and the league average is 114.5. The fact that the Oklahoma, so here's actually a really, really good comparison, Brian, to explain this, as weird as this sounds. The worst team in the league this season from offense was the Washington Wizards, who put up a pedestrian 106.8 points per 100 possessions. The Oklahoma City Thunder, their defensive rating says they made an average team look like the Wizards. They took a normal team. That's how good their defense was. Is they were saying the worst team in the NBA, we're going to make a normal team look like that in an average night. The best team in the NBA, the Cleveland Cavaliers, we're going to make them look average. That's just how good their offense is. And then if we look at, say, the Memphis Grizzlies, they're actually a pretty good offense. Like, it's playoff time. And what's funny is last show you said that the coach of the Oklahoma City Thunder, who is not going to win Coach of the Year, but still amazing. And I think he's not going to win because I think he won last year, if I'm not mistaken. And how do you say it? Diagonu?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Oh, it's
And
it's Day it's Dagnalt is how Basketball
Diagonals.
Reference says Dagnalt is how you say
Oh,
it.
it has a hard T at the end. Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's the reason is that they were the number one seed last year, so he doesn't get credit for improving the team. I don't know if that's the way it should be, but it is what it is.
Well, and the Cleveland just had the biggest turnaround is the thing. I
Yeah.
mean, it is hilarious, right? If you look at it, last year, the Oklahoma City Thunder had a 57-25 record. This year, they're 68-14. That's an 11-point improvement and the greatest all-time team. And he's going to finish second or third in Coach of the Year voting. The
There's also
coach
the
who
Timberwolves who won three times more games this year than last year,
is
which
that
is never.
true?
Yes, they won so few that. Yeah.
Huh. And then yeah, so for next year, it's going to be Atkinson for sure, right? Kenny Atkinson is taking it. The best he finished is in 2019 for Brooklyn. He finished fifth.
It's not the
So it's
Timberwolves, by the way. It's a different team. I'm getting confused. Timberwolves went to the
not
playoffs last year.
Timberwolves are. That was why I was confused. But
Yeah,
18
I'm sorry. Someone
Pistons.
else did. Pistons. Thank you. A different team in the Midwest with blue jerseys, Trey. That's what tripped me up. It was the Pistons.
And though it's all, I love the Pistons. They're all sorts of confusing. The Pistons being in the Eastern Conference, but definitely being Midwest. And then they're just confusing. And with apologies, Brian, to spoil some of the future stuff, Cade Cunningham showed up to play. I was very confused as to what happened in game 2 of the New York Knicks against the Detroit Pistons. And the answer is this guy named Cunningham, who we routinely call overrated. And then it looks like Carl Anthony Towns maybe got in foul trouble and they did the wise maneuver of putting him on the bench, saving him so he doesn't foul out. So he only played 34 minutes instead of like 43 plus. Although, kind of Schadenfreude, the, let's see, Brian, we're all over the place, but that's fine. One other piece of just like fun news that's going on, of course, is the comments being made by, how am I dropping his name? Dallas Mavericks GM,
Oh, Nico
Nico.
Harrison. Oof.
What I am laughing at is I've seen multiple people have this kind of verbatim take, which is this quote by Nico is a fireable offense when he's talking about Luka Doncic. And a good one I really, really did like, and credit where credit's due, is to Seth Partnow, which is Nico Harrison is going, hey, if you don't like, Anthony Davis and what he brings, I don't know what to tell you. And Seth Partnow's take was, this is like someone spending $60,000 on a Honda Civic. And then if you say, what the hell were you thinking? Your response is, don't you think the Honda Civic is a good car? And that's, first off, amazing. I'm going to give Seth Partnow props. That's like a perfect metaphor, perfect joke. And then someone, I forget who, another basketball analyst had like a good follow up, which is like, Seth, what do you have against Honda Civics? So fantastic from an entertainment perspective as well as a learning perspective. But Seth also said a line like, Nico Harrison saying this line, this should be a fireable offense. And my metaphor to that is, if you were an employee that was in front of a review board for, say, blowing up a building in your office or something, right? And you started your phrase with, in my defense, it's going, in, yes, the in my defense is probably fireable, but the action that got you in front of the review board is fireable. Like, there is nothing that Nico Harrison can do in his remaining tenure with the malice with the Dallas Mavericks that is going to match trading away Luka Doncic, losing his team a shot in the playoffs, and then giving the Lakers the number 3 seed.
And I've heard that over and over again today as well, that it's a fireable defense. And specifically, um, the part where he says, I just didn't realize how much the Dallas fans love Luka. That revealed somehow that he's completely clueless and doesn't understand like how the Mavericks, relationship first get the league. And I agree kind of in a vacuum that the way the way he acts in interviews does reveal that he's probably not qualified for the job. But we do have some more reporting on this now, Dre, that reveals that Nico Harrison is probably not acting on his own when he's doing these disastrous press conferences, trading Luka Doncic and whatnot. He's basically just doing it for the owner and then taking all the heat. The owner's the one making all the calls, is the reporting right now. So it's absolutely not a fireable defense because he's like the hatchet man who takes all the heat. So the owner's probably going to keep him, you know?
Well, yeah, that's or he gets fired. I mean, it's the golden parachute, right? Or he goes, "Hey, I get fired. I take this. I go get
Sure.
a job. You give me time to get things set up." We've pointed out he's a classic take of failing upward in corporate and whatever, where he failed at Nike, he fails here. He'll have something else set up. One of my favorite shows is a show called Better Off Ted, and there is an episode just like this where the company gets in trouble and they get a fall guy. And yeah, there's this great actor on it. I forget his name and everything, but yeah, he's just like going in front of the press, is like, "Oh yes, it was me. It's my fault." And then he blames it on drugs and says he's going to rehab. All of that's going on, and he's just getting money. And
I
Nico's, it's
assuming he
this.
was not taking drugs.
It's yeah. Well, we don't. Actually, this character's funny. He might have been, but like for Nico Harrison,
Mm.
you're saying it's exactly the same thing. He's getting in front of a mic and going, "Oh yeah, I just didn't realize. I didn't know. Man, what a silly maneuver on me." And the owners are going, "We're going to keep paying your paycheck, and we're going to make sure you're set up nicely going
That's how I
forward."
see it right now.
And I still, it's possible they don't wind up in Vegas, but I don't necessarily buy it. I do, the one funny thing, by the way, I will say the numbers. I hate this. American numbers, Arturo Galletti. The only reason I visit X anymore is him. So he does his playoff projections every year, is one of the best analysts in the game. American numbers on X, formerly Twitter. Please go yell at him. I'm going to do that after this show, Brian, that he needs to put his numbers on Blue Sky. He actually had the Minnesota Timberwolves as favorites against the Los Angeles Lakers. And that's not to say the Lakers aren't good. It's just to say the Timberwolves have a really good team. Now, there is one funny part about that I seem to recall when I brought it up with you, which is to say there was like one player on the Timberwolves I was kind of shocked, kind of put it together for the win. But yeah, the Timberwolves are just a good team, and this isn't shocking. And yeah, so this is kind of funny where I'm laughing where the Golden State Warriors with the 2 versus 7 may have ended up in the best spot.
Yeah, and I've got Arturo's chart up right here. It's kind of hard to read, unfortunately. It's small, but yeah, it's funny how it goes. I mean, when you win the road, the first game as the road team, it's just a crazy bonanza, right? I can't remember what the odds are, but now they're big favorites, right? Because they've stolen that home court advantage. And like you were saying earlier about Magnus Carlsen's ELO rating being, just Magnus because he's just himself. Well, the Warriors are not themselves anymore, right? They have this guy, Jimmy Butler, we were just talking about, that just goes 12 or 18 from the line, like it's no problem. So they could make a run. Your scenario from earlier where they make it, where they lose in the finals to Oklahoma City, the Western Conference Finals, that could happen. I'd say they're still probably, kind of round two losers is the best odds, but their players are healthy for now, and that's what's really important in the postseason.
One of the big ones that's huge that was the difference this first game was Naz Reid showing up. And this is a player that we have liked in the past. We have definitely liked him in the past. Um, I lied. We have never liked him. He's never been good. Sorry,
Oh,
Brian. I
you're still
lied.
on the Minnesota? I'm sorry. I'll talk about that one too.
I'm on Minnesota, but yeah, Naz Reid. You're like moving on.
You were talking about
Naz,
Rockets.
let's talk. Oh, there's a great quote about the Rockets I want to text next. But yeah, just looking at that first game, there were some outliers. Naz Reid played amazing. What I will say, finishing up the LA, putting a button on it and pairing it with New York is Luka's looking great for the playoffs. Jalen Brunson's looking great for the playoffs. I made a snarky comment. I said in game one of the NBA playoffs, Luka Doncic and Jalen Brunson combined for 71 points, 10 rebounds, and 10 assists. Can you just imagine them on a team together, Brian? So that's my snarky comment. Let's move on to probably, I would say the 3 versus 6 and the 2 versus 7 are probably the most entertaining outside of one if we're talking out west and we can finish out up east. Your Golden State Warriors, Brian. Now again, second verse, same as the first. Jimmy Butler, how awesome was it to get him for your team?
The team's completely different now, right? Just adding a superstar that, we think is an MVP level player some years. Um, just adding him to the top of the roster and then everyone else gets moved down in the depth chart. It's just unreal how much that makes your team. And also that he's just the second, or I guess third kind of cornerstone defender to put in there with Gary Payton and Draymond Green. That's been the story of the Warriors is they're the best defensive team in the league since they got Jimmy Butler. And that also did coincide with Gary Payton getting a little bit healthier. And they just shut everyone down. And that game one in Houston was like that. They won 97-86, I think was the final score, something like that.
It's 95-85. I do have an
95
interesting
85.
question, and this was intentional. And like I said, the funny quote was from Steve Kerr, where he was just like, "Oh yeah, I didn't know the Rockets were great rebounding and a gritty team. I'll make sure to tell the team before game two."
Yeah.
What is fascinating is the one thing about game one that could be potentially troubling is the Golden State Warriors got out rebounded something like 52 to 36. And you can notice Kevon Looney only played 9 minutes in the game.
Yep.
And it's no secret. We know this, right? We love some of the Rockets bigs. Şengün, right? However you say it.
Yep.
We've said he's interesting. I mean, he was actually good offensively. I don't know if I believe with Dean Oliver that he's an amazing defender, but we really like Amen Thompson. There are some good players on the Houston Rockets, big wise. But Houston, I don't know if the math is correct, did this thing where they lost the rebounding battle, but just shut down the Rockets shooting, right? 85 to get 85 points to pair with 52 rebounds. That is that is ridiculous. I mean, I'm almost inclined for fun, Brian, if I can like juggle. I almost want to go back to 1996 with the Chicago Bulls and just ask the question of how many times did that team get, 50 plus rebounds and how many points did they put up? Because it's like if you give a team like that 50 plus rebounds, they're gonna even in the era of not scoring a lot, even in the era, their offensive rating was 115.2, which is pretty good. But the NBA that era was probably like less than 100 for an average team. You give an average team 52 rebounds, they are probably going to score over 100 to only score 85 despite having 52 rebounds, Brian. I don't know about that.
Well, they only shot 20% from three. So, I mean, it was really bad luck. They're just a defensive minded team. And both these teams are at this point, to be honest. Obviously, Steph Curry did his, offense. We gloss over that because no one else can do it, but he just does it all the time. So, whatever. But he's not going to be able to do that every game. So, I think, the Rockets are going to. Everyone and their mother is saying this one's going to go seven, right? Since the Warriors won game one, six is probably a safer pick now with the Warriors having game six at home, right? That would be a logical, time for them to win. But they, I mean, it's ironic, Dre, because the Rockets were also the team that had that historic, 0 for 20 with Chris Paul and James Harden against the Warriors
Yeah.
during their historic run. So for the Rockets to kind of have two really, really poor 3-point shooting nights, is a little bit weird. But again, those Warriors defense is no joke, and there could be a few more of these rock fights, as the term people
I
like to use
love it.
this days.
And what I'll throw to you, I saw this. We can move on to the last series in the West, which is the Denver Nuggets, of course. Something Jimmy Butler reminds me a lot of is actually Chauncey Billups to the Denver Nuggets, where Chauncey Billups and Jimmy Butler, both MVP caliber players that got moved to a team after their prime. Jimmy Butler is still great, but he's not what he was. Chauncey Billups, when he went to the Nuggets in '09, made the Western Conference Finals, but it's hard not to look at what Chauncey Billups was doing in 2008 and 2007 and say, man, if we got him a year or two earlier, what could have been? Jimmy Butler reminds me of that, which is to go, man, can you imagine what Jimmy Butler, that was almost taking the Philadelphia 76ers to the conference finals? Can you imagine Jimmy Butler, who got the Minnesota Timberwolves to the playoffs for the first time in forever? Can you imagine what that could have done with the Warriors? Ooh, that would have been special. It's hard to say because, right, they had Andre Iguodala, who's great. But that's just kind of the state of the world. So that's awesome. And then speaking of the Denver Nuggets, Brian, as mentioned, I was in a great mood after game one,
Mm.
wherein Nikola Jokic just played great. The Denver Nuggets win game one, a scrappy fight. And that's the thing. You made the comment that it looks like, you know, this game, the Warriors and Rockets could go to seven. The Denver Nuggets and Clippers right now, it is a bloodbath, right? It's game one is 110 to they have a margin of 1 point between two games. The Nuggets won game one by two, the Clippers won game two by three. And, game one for the Denver Nuggets, the one troubling thing to me, of course, is playoff Jamal Murray didn't show up, 21 points on 20 shots. Not thrilled about that. But, Nikola Jokic played freaking ridiculously. A fun stat I looked up is the win that got them the number four seed, the last game of the season. They went on a 9 point streak to end they were down against the Rockets. They went on a 9 point streak to win the game. And Nikola Jokic scored 8 points and was part of every scoring possession in that run. He's just that good. And so game one, right, 29 points, 12 assists, 9 boards, a block, like just amazing. Happily enough, Aaron Gordon showed up as well. Love my boy Chris Brown. Murray, Porter Jr., and man, Westbrook frightened me 5 for 17. So, just the pros outweighed the cons. But then the scary part is we head over to the Clippers. And in game one, Kawhi Leonard looked amazing. 9 for 15, 22 points, 6 rebounds, 3 steals. This is going to get forgotten in history, Brian, but we won't forget it. Ivica Zubats um, leaving the Lakers back in the day is unforgivable.
Chris
And he
Ye
was
was not happy about it.
he was traded for Mike Muscala, who was making 5 million a year. The Lakers just let Muscala walk. Zubac signed a 4-year, 10 million a year deal with the Clippers, and even now isn't even getting paid that amazingly. So like right now, Zubac is making 11 million for this year. He signed a 3-year extension at roughly 18 mil a season. Zubac is one of the most underpaid and undervalued players in the NBA. And it's hard not to look at the not the Warriors, at the Lakers and go, man, especially after losing Anthony Davis, if they could have like an awesome center, and Zubac is just that good. So game one of the Western Conference, 4 versus 5. Zubac looks incredible. Kawhi looks incredible. Jokic looks incredible. It goes down to the wire. Phew. Game two, with a minute and a half to go, Brian, the Nuggets were so close. They were tied, minute and a half to go. And in fact, we did wind up with a shot where Jokic could have sunk a three to send us to OT. But Brian, what the hell is this nonsense? Kawhi Leonard, 15 for 19 from the field, 4 for 7 from three, 2 steals, including the one at the end of the game that kind of like took the game out of, like, we were so close. Ben Guest was actually watching the game and told me that there was a rim out, that Aaron Gordon had a wide open dunk that he missed at the end of the game, which is just extra painful. But the line that Ben Guest told me is, he said, if Leonard's going to play like this series is over. Um, Part of me wants to believe regression to the mean, right? Like he can't keep this up the whole series, right? And the other painful part about game two is playoff Jamal Murray, or at least closer to, showed up. 9 for 17, 4 for 8 from the
It was
field.
those big pirate sleeves he was wearing. Did you see those?
Is that what helped? Yes, wear them. Be a pirate, Jamal. If you got to be a pirate, be a
No
pirate.
one else has said that, but I thought they were a little bit baggy. I don't know.
I'm gonna take a look at this because I like checked in, and then I had to Billy Bean this. I like checked in and was like, I can't watch, and then came back at the end and was like, they lost by
Oh, yeah,
3.
yeah.
It was like, but I'm just
It was
saying,
close.
yeah, I want to say there is no way Kawhi can keep this up for the whole series. But another line that I don't want to say have become infamous for, but I use all the time, like every time playoffs come up on this show, Brian, is I say, by the time regression to the mean happens, the playoff series is over.
Yep.
So if Kawhi has another game like this, the Clippers go up 2-1, that could be all she wrote, but I'm hoping for a good series. So the fun news on everything out west except 1 versus 8 is I could see it going any way. I could say all 3 of these series, with how they're going so far, could go any which way. Now, Brian, let's see how quickly we get through the East. Cleveland's up against the Heat. No surprise there. I mean, I would love to see the Heat over, already, the Heat notoriously overperform in the playoffs. 10 seed with a 37-45 record, makes it past the play-in round, makes it to the first round, gets smoked by 21 points in round one. And hate to say it, our boy Donovan Mitchell showed up, right? 30 points, 11 for 19, 11 for 19, and that's on 2 for 9 shooting. So just Donovan Mitchell showed up to play. This is a great team top to bottom. There is no real surprise there. Would be fun to see the Miami Heat do something, but I just, I can't see it. That being said, there are another couple of other funny series. The funniest one that kind of relates to the player poll is the Pacers versus the Bucks. Now, this is going the way it's supposed to. The Pacers are currently up 2-0, but many, including Arturo, thought the Bucks were better on paper. Now, game one, Kyle Kuzma just did something, choose whatever expletive description you want, played horribly. Game two, though, the Pacers just kind of won. And part of that was like Tyrese Halliburton playing amazing. Tyrese Halliburton, who just got listed the most overrated player in the NBA. Do you think there's any hope for the Bucks? I mean, I want to believe that this can go the distance. The line is it's not until the home team loses that we have a series. But not having much faith in the Bucks with them going down 2-0.
Yeah, I mean they have to win, you know, 4 out of the next 5. That's not going to be easy. 4 out of the next 6, whatever. Um, I don't like the team very much. I mean, Giannis could just kind of go crazy, but yeah, I just don't think the supporting cast is good. Getting Lillard back is some kind of hope, and he was able to play like somewhat heavy minutes tonight, but that's not clear to me that's gonna continue. I just don't think Kuzma is the answer.
Mhm.
I think some of the other guys, Brooke Lopez. I've tried to defend him at times, but he's an older player. Like they don't have the horses. I don't think. I think Giannis is swimming upstream.
I'm inclined to agree, and the only reason I'm like trying to hold on for dear hope is I'm just like Arturo's betting number said that was good, and some people bet on that, and it's still good, but that's one where it's rough, where I'm inclined to believe. One that's funny to me, the other one is Detroit versus New York. Now this is a 1-1 series. Brian, I think he took it personally, but the reason this is a 1-1 series is out of nowhere. Dennis, let's see how they say it because it's supposed to be Schroeder, but Schroeder,
Schroeder.
fine. Sure, sure. Remember you're German. Dennis, right? He actually is from. Okay, this is bizarre, Brian. A couple of things. Dennis Schroeder is from Germany, legit, and he's got my birthday. So weird, weird
There you
world.
go.
Um, I guess he took it personally because I was basically saying he was one of the only things holding back the Warriors from being a playoff
That's
contender.
true. They
And
also benched Kaminga. That was like the secret
yeah,
ingredient.
I basically well, Kaminga was annoying at the time is Kaminga was injured and then they traded Schroeder, and I was just
Yeah.
like, that's all you need to do. Schroeder in game two, 6 for 10 off the bench, 3 assists, 2 rebounds in 29 minutes in a 6 point win by the Pistons. And you noted the rough part is the Knicks went on like a big run in the fourth. They basically gave up the lead. They gave up the lead early in the first half. They went down by 7 in the first quarter. They went down by they had just a ridiculous third quarter. So in the fourth quarter, they like go on a run to almost come back and then lose it. But the at least from the boring box score perspective, the difference maker was Schroeder. And it's similar to other things. I'm not inclined to believe they're going to keep this up. I'm not, I am a fan of the Knicks, but I think you and I are probably on the same boat where it is we like the Knicks as a team. We just don't see them as a contender this year.
Yeah, and I'm confused by that. I think the Knicks roster is good enough to be up there with Cleveland and Boston, but they just haven't been good enough. And I could see them making a run to the Eastern Conference Finals, but I don't, on the other hand, think the Pistons are that good. I mean, we'll talk about Cade Cunningham in a little bit, but yeah, the Knicks giving up a home game is not great for them, but I just think it's such a better roster.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then, I mean, yeah, the Cade Cunningham point of, he's fine. Like, I guess the good, it's rough where Cade Cunningham was a number 1 pick. And what's funny is I can't even necessarily say he was a bad number 1 pick. He's not what we would do if we had a front office position. But the honest truth is, if the box score geeks had a front office position and had a number 1 pick, we would 100% flip it for an undervalued player and assets, right? We would go after a Josh Hart or a Tyrese Like we're on the flip side, right? We think Tyrese Halliburton is underrated. We would go after a Zubats, a Halliburton, someone like that, and go give us some great, give us an underrated player and give us some picks for the future, and go that way. Kind of what OKC has been doing for years now, because I've become a Presti believer. I bashed him in the past, and I think Presti might have been very similar to what you were saying about Nico Harrison. It's just the hatchet man for an owner that didn't want to pay money. So Presti's like, yeah, sure, it was my decision. And it's like it clearly wasn't. He turned it around. So, Cade Cunningham, number one pick, we said wasn't who you should pick with the number one pick based on stats. Said didn't deserve rookie of the year based on production. But this year he's following the age curve and he is a fine player. He's just not at the same level of other players out there. The Pistons do have Usser Thompson, who we really do like, but they're just kind of eh. So between the two teams, it's kind of going. I think that the reality of both of these teams, even loving Josh Hart, is the ceilings of both of these teams' star player is only so high. Josh Hart got third in wins produced this season, but that is in large part because of minutes played. He got a lot of minutes. Really productive player, undervalued, but if you look at his per minute production, it's not up there with Nikola Jokic, with Giannis Antetokounmpo, with, of course, the eventual winner, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. And when it comes to the regular season, that's fine. You play more minutes than your other stars who sit. Come the playoffs, though, your opponents are going to play the same number of minutes. Yeah, you're going to play Cade Cunningham 42 minutes. You're going to play Tobias Harris 43 minutes. They only played Usher Thompson 21 minutes, which is kind of funny to me. As you know, if Dennis Schroeder's going off, you got to play Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder, they will get it like Schroeder. Um, but neither the Pistons or the Knicks, in my opinion, have a star at the same caliber as some of the other teams. Now, the star caliber players on these other teams might not be who other people think. On Cleveland, as an example, we are in love with Jared Allen, and I don't think he's going to get the same love as other people. Boston is kind of funny in that I would argue they don't have as high of a ceiling either on their star players, but they have so many damn good players. Derek White, Peyton Pritchard, Luke Cornett off the bench, Jason Tatum, Drew Holiday. All of those players are close. Like that is five close to star level players in permanent production. And that's the thing. If you're not going to have a 300, 400, which is 3 to 4 times as good as an average player MVP, you need like a starting bench of star caliber players. And neither the Knicks or the Pistons have that.
I like the Knicks' depth a bit more. I think your point about Asar Thompson is right. Like him getting into the rotation is probably more in favor, contributes more to their success than whatever Cade Cunningham's emergence is. I mean, he's scoring more points per game, right? But is he efficient enough yet? Yeah, Jalen Duren is an interesting player on the Pistons. He's a guy that I think kind of has like a Hassan Whiteside kind of reputation as a big athletic guy that's good on offense and puts up numbers on defense, but people think he gets lost a little bit out there, but still an effective player. And then after that, boy, they're falling off. Like they do not have, a lot of guys that can come in. And the Knicks have like I'd say like 6 or 7, quality level starters. So that depth I think will help a lot as the series goes on.
To your point on Jalen Duren, I mean, that is a Hassan Whiteside box score he put up in game one.
Mm.
12 points, 13 boards, 3 blocks. I mean, and again, it's always so weird to have these players, Whiteside included, that are these like fantastic defenders, fantastic defensive numbers, and you find clips of them looking, like you're saying, looking lost. And the simple reality is like you can't pull down 13 boards in a game if you're always getting lost because your guy's going to be in front of you. And you find any player in the NBA, and there are going to be possessions where they get flummoxed because that's the game. That is the purpose. The opponent is intentionally trying to get the best defender out of position to get a good shot. And if you are the nexus of your defense, you cannot avoid, getting crossed up. Michael Jordan got crossed up by Allen Iverson, although he was probably past his prime at that point, but is what it is. So it is always amusing when we use the eye test on defenders and it's going, we have hundreds of possessions that beg to differ with your eye test. It's like you can't, if you were that bad every play, you couldn't do it. And clearly he can do it. But yeah, I do think that's going to go to the Knicks because of depth. I agree, unless something, I mean, that one's margin is close enough where something could happen, right? Injury to Josh Hart, injury to Jalen Brunson could flip the switch,
Yeah.
but right now I could see that. Last one, Brian, no shock. Buzzsaw, good on the Magic for making the NBA playoffs. We actually do like some of the Orlando Magic players. underrated ones, right? Paolo Banchero isn't the player we would like, although I think he had a really good playing game. Paolo isn't quite like Cade. Cade is turned around to where we're like, okay, you're above average player, maybe overrated. But you knew like Jonathan Isaac, for instance, is a player we really like. I'm gonna butcher pronunciation, but Goga we really like. But
Oh yeah, he's good.
they don't like they are the exact opposite. The Orlando Magic are bringing two star players to the game with a bunch of meh players, and the Boston Celtics. This is what won them a title last year. They have no weaknesses. The Boston Celtics is a team that I absolutely adore, and I'm so glad they won a title last year. In just that, if you rank the Boston Celtics by minutes played, I'm doing that over at Boxscore Geeks. It's taking a minute. You have to get all the way down to Xavier. Well, actually, Xavier Tillman's at the bottom, but Jordan Walsh, and that's 400 minutes played. You have to get to Jordan Walsh on the depth chart for the Boston Celtics before you have not a bad player. He has a .076 wins per 48. 100 is average, but 100 is average for a starter. That is still a bench level player. Xavier Tillman is the only player on the Boston Celtics with over 100 minutes played that is not good. And if you construct a team right like that and then start filling in the top of your roster with some stars, you are really hard to beat.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I kind of think about, well, if you have a team that's, with a really good record and then everyone on the whole team has wins produced, it kind of creeps into my head, well, maybe some players are getting credit for team-based stuff, right? But the Celtics, they're a good defense, but they were better on offense, right? So the defensive adjustment is giving these guys some help, but not like a ton of help. My point is, I think you're right. I think these guys are just all good. um, we were already talking about Peyton Pritchard, sixth man of the year, shot 40% like on 13 attempts. That is gunning. We talked about Luke Cornett in the past. They are loaded. Derek White is going to show up as who the players think is one of the most underrated players in the league. We do not think he's underrated. Even Jaylen Brown is having an okay year on offense. Yeah, this team's good.
Well, yeah, let's skim through these really quick. So we've got our award finalists and our player pool. Now, our award finalists, the one we're allowed to announce, as you mentioned, is six man of the year finalists. Our options were Peyton Pritchard, Ty Jerome, and Malik Beasley. I think one for three. I'm going to have to take a real quick look at Ty Jerome. But I did not like. I know I don't like Malik Beasley because we were just looking at the Celtics and or not this. We were looking at the Pistons. Ty Jerome, I'll give you. Ty Jerome is fantastic. But Peyton Pritchard is the answer, and that's really rough because like Ty Jerome in many years, 1,400 minutes played, 2.5 times as good as an average player, uh, almost 8 wins produced. Great performance, Ty Jerome. I think you even mentioned with some of the trades that he was one of the players. When they made a trade, they like traded a player we kind of liked for someone else. I'm already forgetting everything.
Yeah, it was Karis LeVert. You were wondering about that, and yeah, that's who's getting the minutes.
Yeah, you were basically saying they traded Karis LeVert, who was a good player but older, and they didn't get much back. And you kind of just said, "Hey, are they trying to get more minutes for Ty Jerome?" And it may be the case. And I was like, "Yeah, that makes sense." So Ty Jerome most years would be a fantastic candidate for six man of the year. Peyton Pritchard made the first page of wins produced as a six man, 12 wins, not right. And then I think you even noted right game game one of the NBA playoffs. Let's see again just for fun. That just happened. But I think you're right. Like I think just like came out swinging, like didn't start, but yeah, just 19 point. You already said this, but like yeah, 19 points on 6 for 8 shooting in a measly 25 minutes play. Just we love Peyton Pritchard. Didn't get unanimous number one, which made me a little sad, but got I think like 80 of the votes, something like that. So good on him. Everybody who didn't vote for him is incorrect. Let's do these other awards as quick as we can, Brian. Most valuable player. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We got Nikola Jokic, and we got Giannis. thanks for showing up, Giannis. Not happening. Think it's consensus this is going to Shea for a variety of reasons. We already talked this on the show. No complaints, but do just want to note Nikola Jokic becoming the third player in NBA history to do this, the fifth time ever to average a triple double for the season. Managed to tie Russell Westbrook for fourth place, I want to say, on the triple double list with 34 in a season, and is the first center since Wilt Chamberlain to exceed 30 triple doubles in an NBA season using the rebound and assist stat. It's probably the case that Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain even probably got some triple doubles with blocks, but they were not recorded in their era. So
Probably got some quadruples.
yeah, I would be really curious to see how many quadruple doubles Wilt got back in his day. 50-point quadruple doubles. Um, who knows? But yeah, this is probably going to Shea. That's not a problem, but just amazing. And that speaks to how ridiculous Nikola Jokic is, where he's going to average a triple double. He is chomping at the bit to get Russell Westbrook's record for the record for all time triple doubles. All time leaders right now in terms of triple doubles is, let's see, career. Russell Westbrook has 203
Mm.
lifetime. Only player to exceed 200. Oscar Robertson is number two at 181. Nikola Jokic is at 181. It's fair to say that Russell Westbrook is past his prime. He can, he's kind of who is that? Was it Manny? How am I dropping the name? Famous. I'm going to be cutting this, Brian. Famous Los Angeles Angels player that got 700
Oh.
home runs to end his career. 700 Angel. Albert Pujols. And he was
Oh, I
just at the
forgot he went to the Angels. That's
yeah,
right.
he at the end of his career, was just hanging around and trying to get one or two home runs to get to that 700, right? And so Russell Westbrook's in the same boat. I could buy that he plays another couple seasons. I could buy that he gets another couple triple doubles a season. I mean, he did, as an example, do that for the Nuggets this season. He got four triple doubles playing for the Nuggets this year. But he is years removed from average. He got 42 triple doubles in 2017 when he won the MVP, and 38 his last year when he averaged a triple double for Washington. So he's years removed from that. Jokic just got 34 in a season. So even if Jokic just drops a step and only gets like 17 next season and only gets 10 the season after that, Jokic could finish his career all time in triple doubles. He is on pace for that. He is that ridiculous at the moment.
Yeah, and I think you're right that the voters do look at team record quite a bit here. I think that's how Shea's going to do it.
And I mean, it's deserved. That's the thing. Let's just be clear. The numbers all back it. We don't have a complaint with it. It's just funny for Jokic to have such a historic season and be like, and you don't win MVP, but he's up there with Oscar Robertson, the first player to average a triple double in the NBA to not get it. All right, rookie of the year. We actually talked this a bunch. I'm depressed on so many fronts here, Brian, which is first, Stephen Castle had no business being drafted. His college numbers were not good. And he had no business leading the or the rookie of the year race. We actually talked to him like two shows ago on this when we were looking this up. He's going to win it, and it's points per game. And the sad thing to us is the two players that we would say deserve it are Zach Edey. Zach Edey got dinged because he was injured for a lot of the season. He didn't come in late. He only played 1,400 minutes compared to Castle, who played over 2,000. Edey has both the best per minute production, around 189, so almost two, and about 6 wins produced. We really like Donovan Clingan, but he's just too defensive minded, right? The reason he's leading it is rebounds. Neither of those players even made the pedestal. Um, let's see, Jalen Wells. Jalen Wells is decent,
He's a defensive specialist.
and Risser
Risa
Ricochet,
Shea, yeah.
yeah, is terrible. So it depresses me that two players that made the podium are just scores lots of points. This isn't anything new. I'm not surprised. It just depresses me. Defensive player of the year, good for Donovan, or not Donovan, good for Draymond Green for making the podium. He's not going to win it. Probably Evan Mobley, and I think we're fine with that, right? I think that's what we've said. We love Cleveland. We love that, and I think you've even agreed or Do you think someone else on Cleveland deserves it more, like Jarrett
Yeah,
Allen?
maybe Jared Allen. I would say I'll go off kilter a little bit here. I would go Amen Thompson from Houston Rockets as my defensive player of the year, just because he had amazing numbers and his team was number 2 in defense. I want to point out Dyson Daniels, though, who's kind of come out of nowhere and led the league in steals, I believe, or was leading it most of the year anyway. He is a legitimate defender who's kind of a new guy to look out for, and maybe is not a top 3 defender in the league. I tend to favor centers more, but he's deserving of being in the conversation and deserves credit for sure.
I love his numbers, right? Close to a star
Yeah.
player the last 2 seasons. And then yeah, I mean, 2 steals per 48 his rookie year, which is already good. That's above average for a wing. 3 steals per 48 his sophomore year. What this is the last question on him I gotta ask. What on earth did New Orleans get back for him? Because they traded him. They so what did
That's
they
right.
draft him? Let's see. They drafted number 8. So he's a top 10 pick. Fantastic, fantastic pick by New Orleans. Good on you. Is going to go really well next to that center that can't stay healthy.
They fired their
DeJounte,
GM at the end of the year, so
DeJounte Murray, who we like. We actually do like DeJounte Murray, but then that runs into this annoying territory of saying you're going to trade the really amazing, super young, cost nothing player. DeJounte Murray has almost been in the league 10 seasons now and looks like he got injured this year. So
they were a
that's a
playoff team at the time, though. They were trying to like load up with veterans to make a run. Now, of course, they traded Ingram to Toronto, and they'll probably try to trade Zion Williamson. I'm not sure. They hired Joe Dumars Dre to be the
Oh yeah, I
GM.
saw. Did you see? I posted that Joe Dumars, if you remember back in the day, Ben Gordon and who was the other guy? Extra bald, if that makes any sense for the NBA.
Charlie
Uh,
Villanueva.
Villanueva, good memory. He signed for the combined cost of a Chauncey Billups and Chris Birdman Anderson, who both helped the Denver Nuggets to a Western Conference playoff that year. He signed those 2 players after trading for Allen Iverson, and then and traded for, and that was with the money he had got from trading Chauncey Billups for Allen Iverson. That's your he's back in the league. I mean, as we kind of noted with like Nico Harrison, doesn't matter how bad you do as an NBA GM, you can win. I have not looked into this enough, Brian, the most improved. I'm a little sad that my boy Chris Brown isn't there because he did do
Seriously.
a pretty good job. It's funny to see Avika Zubats there because the reality is I think it's just he got more minutes and more shots. Um, he got 2,600 minutes this season. His previous high was 2,100, and he got 24.5 points per 48. His previous high was 20. Actually, he was when he was on the Clippers only at 500 minutes. He was higher per minute, but he's never been close this high. So, it's classic. We kind of say we his jump in production was close to about what Chris Brown did. So this is not undeserved, but it's funny to see it there. Cade Cunningham is funny to me. I agree he did improve, but it's like he went to fine, which makes me less than happy. And to your point on, I mean, we just said this for Dyson Daniels, went from 3 steals per 48 to 4, and his bigger jump, what he really kind of stayed in place production wise, but jumped in minutes.
Yep. Bigger
If I
role.
had to pick one of these 3, I'm picking Avika. I just don't know if this is the 3 I would go for.
I might pick Cade Cunningham because I was pretty low on him before. And yeah, he's a legit player now. And I was trying to deflect credit from him earlier to other players, but I will now give him credit. Even if I don't rate him as high as other people, he is pretty good.
Okay, so here's the annoying thing. We both have good points. Of the 3 players on that podium, Cade Cunningham improved an entire average starting player from last year to this year, which is a huge jump. He basically went up about 5 times, which matches what you were. Doesn't that match what you were saying, right? The
Yeah.
Detroit Pistons. Let's see. Does it match? This is funny, Brian. Let's do this. So Cade Cunningham on the Pistons. Um, the Pistons this season won 44 games and last season won 14. So that is almost a four time improvement. He's up there. He improved up there. So the most improved player on the podium is Cade Cunningham. The best player on the podium is Zubats.
Agree.
I don't hate any of like I don't think Dyson Daniels really improved, but I mean, it's kind of weird to say like, oh yeah, if you were that good on limited minutes and you kept it up, do you belong on the podium? So this is of all the awards, one I hate the least, which is funny. I give it to all of them. Six Man of the Year, we already brought up. Peyton Pritchard went to it. Clutch Player of the Year. This is rough. I wanted to go to Jokic just as kind of a consolation prize. And it was funny because Jokic had some clutch games that still he didn't get credit for. The people on the podium are Nikola Jokic, Anthony Edwards, and Jalen Brunson. I haven't looked enough at the close games. I've kind of mentioned in past my definition of clutch as a player. Like I would give this award to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, right? The most clutch player is the player you don't need to be clutch, the player that wins the game in the
Right.
first half. That's not how they go for it. I don't really care. Any of these three players can win it.
I give it to Jalen Brunson. I don't think clutch is a real thing, but I think New York media market needs some affirmative action and DEI, so we can give them an award. We can give them an award to feel good about themselves.
I do like Jalen Brunson, rub it in their
I love
face.
him. I love him.
Coach of the year. So it is funny that I already forgot it, but Oklahoma isn't even on the board. It's Kenny Atkinson for Cleveland, Bickerstaff for the Pistons. I have a trading card of him, and Udoka for the Rockets. I don't want him to win for past things, and I think it's kind of foregone that Kenny Atkinson's going to win it just because Cleveland Cavaliers won over 60 games after being a Met team last year. So, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I love Kenny Atkinson because he came from the Warriors, so I'm a homer.
I love it. Okay, Brian, we don't need to do all this because it's pretty big, but the player poll came out, which is the players voted on. And it's hard to know. I don't know how many. What was? Do you know the stats on this? What the total number of players that were polled was? Is it all of them or?
No, I saw it earlier, but I forgot. I want to say 200 players. Does that sound like a reasonable number? That's too
Sure. Yeah,
many.
just looking at the percentages. So key ones, who's going to be the MVP? They go Shea Gilgeous-Alexander 56 to 38 versus Jokic. I laugh. Like I said, I don't think anybody should give a number of first place vote to anybody other than those two. But I actually think that's a good straw poll for what I think the award's going to end up being. Which team other than your own will win a title? It's weird that the Celtics got one. It should be OKC. So the players, this is almost a captcha. I'm like, hey, players, this is the greatest team of all time. If you can't agree on that, or unless, 80 of, 80, unless they vote, let everybody in Oklahoma have a vote as well as the front office and former players is what it is.
There's
Other
two
names,
things going on here, though. One is just like markets, right? No one cares about, even among players, no one cares about Oklahoma City compared to Boston. But number two, I think we talked about this last time. People that are involved with the NBA will never give a team credit until they actually win a title. And the Celtics won the title last year. So what I think the players are saying is we care more about winning that title last year than the body of work this year. That's
yeah,
what I think this poll means.
which is funny because sports, and I've said this forever, is so much a what have you done for me lately league.
Mm-hmm.
Who will be the face of the league in 5 years? Wemby's not a horrible guess, but I am worried about health and stuff. Luca's all the way down at 2.9, but yeah, I mean, with him being on the Lakers, it's Luca, by the way. The players are wrong. Um, Most underrated player, this is just fascinating to me. Cade, for what it's worth, some of these have over half the players. So Wemby gets 54% of the vote, Shea Alexander. Cade wins with 9% of the vote. So let's be clear there. It's not like he was an overwhelming favorite. But if you're a number one draft pick, a max contract player, an all-star, it's hard to call you underrated. I do love Derek. Derek White got some love. Norman Powell, Austin Reeves, uh,
Drew
Drew
Holiday.
Drew Holiday, Jaron Jackson, just a bunch of
How about
others.
Jared Allen? Got 1%.
Jared out. I mean, yeah, and then we get down like this award was super like Russell Westbrook.
This
No,
is just
come on.
everyone's voting for their buddies, right?
Yeah, so is what it is. Best organization in the league. I can't disagree with the top three. Warriors just
The
keep
Warriors
attracting.
just opened their new facility, so I have to imagine all their stuff for the players is so posh, and brand new.
Makes sense. And I mean it's hard to argue. Like Kevin Durant is so fascinating to me. I know there was a biography on him that a friend of the show, Jeremy Britton, has read and recommended, and I just haven't gotten around to it. He is so fascinating. Kevin Durant as a person is so fascinating to me.
Yeah.
because outside of Kevin Durant, if you look at the Warriors organization and their ability to attract people like Jimmy Butler, like Andre Iguodala, heck, like Kevin Durant the first time, good players just want to play for them. And to me, that's like the biggest mark of a good team. I agree with a lot of these. I hate liking OKC, but their front office knows what it's doing. Celtics have been the pinnacle of how to run an NBA team. Fun to see the Clippers up there, by the way. I
I
mean,
think same thing, right? They have a brand new stadium and a super rich owner.
yep. And agreed with the Heat. So don't have any funny to see the Spurs. Don't know if I agree with it, but
Jimmy
yeah,
Butler was not one of those 5.8% that voted for the Heat.
yeah. I will say, by the way, worst organization in the leagues, Hornets, Wizards, Pelicans. Hard to disagree with any of those.
This one's a little surprising to me just because of the margin, Dre. I figured Wizards, Pelicans, Kings, Hornets would all be
Mhm.
kind of the same, but Hornets are like doubling up. Like there's something really bad going on there.
That is definitely fascinating. Yeah, didn't get a vote for but Daignault getting first best coach in the league, no surprises. My personal pick, just having watched it, is I like Spoelstra. Like I like his attitude. He always seems to overperform. I like that. Steve Kerr getting like five, no complaints with that. Interesting to see, by the way, these are some fun ones. Just like worst coast in the league. Brian Keefe, Budenholzer, Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is the worst, by the way, most underperforming playoff coach. Um, I didn't realize this was a vote, Brian. I don't care about these. These are just fun to read the title. Who would you like to
Who
fight
would you
least
like
in the
to
league?
fight?
James Johnson and Isaiah. Steve. Here's the thing. Steve Adams is a Kiwi, right? Steve Adams is a 7-footer from New Zealand. Um,
I think
I'm
he's
staying
some
away.
kind of a martial arts fighter too. Actually,
I buy
Rudy
that too.
Gobert is a martial arts fighter. Gobert low key might be the best fighter in the league.
But I could buy say, who would you like to fight least? I could see this being a combination of kind of going like, I might think Gobert would beat me. Gobert, and I'm not an athlete, so just be clear. Me versus Gobert is worse than the Scalabrini challenge. I'm dead. But I could see an NBA player like Draymond Green being like, "Yeah, give me a shot at Gobert, right? He might beat me, but I want to
Right.
take him."
Oh, I see. So the question's a little bit.
It could be both. I could
Yeah.
see being like, you don't want to hit Steph Curry, right? You love him. He's a fun, nice guy. And then also, would they beat you in a fight? Steve Adams, though, is like my personal answer because, like I said, 7-foot Kiwi.
I thought
Don't
it would
know.
be Adams one Stewart too. I didn't realize James Johnson had this tough guy cred.
I love it. I'm gonna have to look more into that. I do like some of these things. Are analytics good or bad for the game? We have good, bad in the middle. It's kind of all over the place with bad winning. My 2 cents on this that I have been saying on this show for years is looking at what places like ESPN do and looking at the analysts that make it to the NBA and at least what gets spouted at places like Sloan, I understand why players don't like analytics because the bad ones are sold. They're not used well. I understand because analytics is just numbers. And the reality is numbers are not used good in the NBA. And you don't need to look any further than the fact that outside of the Celtics and the Thunder, there are not consistently winning teams in the NBA recently. Even teams like the Spurs. The way analytics aren't being used correctly is in a league with the most stable statistics, there is still the most movement in teams because it's almost like they're throwing darts at the board. You get a Giannis Antetokounmpo, you get a finals, and you sign Kyle Kuzma. All right. They got too slanted to offense. I don't disagree, but like this is silly. The last couple ones are the current state of the NBA, and I do think these are funny. One was, do you like the idea of going to 10-minute quarters? Of course, the
Yeah.
players say no because 10-minute quarters lowers your stats, lowers your comparison to
Yep. You
historical.
get paid less.
You'll get, and that's actually the very last question. We skip to it. Would you be in favor of shortening the NBA season if your salary went down? No, that is the answer, and that's the answer we actually have.
Yep.
Every time a really smart analytics person comes up and says the way to fix the NBA, the way to get better health, the way to do blah 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 is to shorten the NBA season, you just have to raise your hand and go, that means less revenue, which means less money, which means everybody gets paid less. Who's for it? Nobody says yes. There's that.
No, I mean the answer is just making the off season shorter and having the season be longer with the same number of games.
Interesting. That's not a horrible idea. That one I'd be okay with. Because what I've heard before is the biggest killers for health are back-to-backs. So if you reduce the number of
Yep.
back-to-backs, you increase rest time, et cetera. So that's fine. Are NBA gambling partnerships good or bad for the league? This one was shocking. 46 said bad, 34 said good, 12 up the middle, 8% undecided. But I do just throw the same thing. It's the NBA is in bed with it. It's money. For better or for worse, that's where they're at now. And that train is not slowing down. That train may be taking Dallas to Vegas. Um,
I would
it
bet
might be
that this. Oh, sorry. I thought you were
you're
done.
good.
Go ahead. I was just
Yeah.
gonna say this. I'm just thinking in terms of political, polling, and maybe that relates to the NBA. I would bet that this is about religious affiliation.
Mm,
The players in the NBA that are against gambling are probably religious.
yeah. And then so there's that. And then I mean some players are getting in trouble. There's that. So I mean I'm not against it, but like I said, the rough part, what makes this really sad for me, both internal to the NBA, the players saying this, and external analysts that I respect saying this is like all of us are saying there are real things to be concerned about with gambling. One of the people I like best is Bob Bulgaris, who made his name as an NBA gambler. And he just keeps saying, I am saying as a cautionary tale, he is Bulgaris, that how close gambling and the NBA have gotten, their partners, etc., is problematic. And people are like, aren't you hypocritical? And he's going, I made my money this way, but that means I can still recognize issues. So, but like I said, the rough part is money. It is really hard to talk people out of money once it's there.
Yeah.
Gambling's here. It is
We
what it
already
is.
had Tim Donaghy happen, right? And people think that maybe it went deeper than that and that maybe other refs might have been involved. All these conspiracy theories, most of them are probably not true. But with the trajectory of the way it's going, I feel like it's inevitable and it's a matter of when, not if, we have another gambling scandal in the NBA.
And Donaghy's actually the prototype. They swept it under the rug. They left it
Yes.
there. There is a great book called Gaming the Game. If anybody's interested in that storyline, it's a fantastic read. But the depressing part is all of the smart analytics people were able to look at the numbers and look at Tim Donaghy's story and pick it apart. But by the time they had done that, the story was out of the news cycle.
Mm.
So all the NBA needed to do was Tim Donaghy to give a good story. He was a good speaker. Then them to say it was just him. It was just one bad actor. We've kicked him out. We've punished him. We've changed our things so this will never happen again and move on. And you can kind of use Trump if we're talking politics as an example, which is if something bad happens in the past and a political party or our system moves on from it in a not great way, the question for when it happens again isn't, oh, or next time are we going to do better? It's like, oh, there is now a blueprint for how to get around it next time for interested parties. And if there's a reason for the parties to be interested and there's so much money in gambling, you know darn well the NBA, they probably already have a playbook set up for what happens if a player, I mean, don't forget, Michael Porter, not Michael Porter, who's a Nuggets
Oh
brother. It
yeah,
might
someone's brother.
got arrested for it was a Denver Nuggets player. It might have been I'll look it up, but a Denver Nuggets player, their brother might have been Michael Porter Jr.
I
got
think
in
it might
trouble
have
for
been.
gambling
Yeah.
on the NBA and got like banned and kicked out. They saw Donaghy. I if I had to put money on it, I would say that the NBA front office probably has playbooks about what to do if there is another gambling scandal and how to handle the PR and everything. And then of course there is a really annoying conflict of interest in that so many of the places that would be reporting on this are paid by or pay for the one of the two, right? Either the NBA gives them money or they pay money to air NBA's games, and so they're not going to want to tank the product. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
And I worry about the players even. The main reason why there are not player scandals in modern times, in North America anyway, is that the players are so well paid, right? That the money you could make from gambling is just not enough money to risk your salary, right? The incentive's not there. But if this just gets bigger and bigger, which it is, are we going to get to the point where maybe paying players is lucrative again, like it used to be when it's more small potatoes? I don't know. Paying the refs makes more sense though because they have a direct influence on the game too, and they make so much less than the players. So that's why Donaghy got involved.
Or a coach on the way out, something like
Yes,
that,
a
right?
coach, a
That
coach.
would be the easiest because then if the coach is like, I'm already supposed to be tanking, and if that happens, then the coach could say, blame it on the owners. I was blamed for this or whatever, and can make it funny. I mean, that was the giveaway on, I want to say it was like Jonte Porter or whatever, was they were parlay bets, like, or prop bets, so and so's going to get under 3 rebounds or whatever. But the point is, a coach could do that pretty easily, could help a parlay with a couple of props and just bench starters on a tanking team and say, was doing rest management. Very last one, Brian. Can't believe we made it through it all. Thank you so much on Reddit to user Sweet Attorney 5937 for posting this because this is behind a paywall on New York Times. You can either
I'm
go to New
not
York
giving the
Times.
Times my money, Dre.
You can, if that's what you want to do, you can go to
Yeah.
the Times and give them your money, or you
Yep.
can go to Reddit and search for and the base is Tyrese Halliburton. It's the most overrated player by the NBA. But in is it too slated to offense? And they say yes, but then again, you've said this a bunch, Brian, which just is, do we want the old NBA? Do we want the NBA with just a bunch of bricks? And I think people romanticize the past, and some of those games are just not fun to watch.
Whenever I see a game from an old era come up, it's wild. It's so much it's so much lower quality.
And then also the only other question I have on Halliburton, because that was the base, is who else got votes outside of Halliburton?
Oh, for overrated?
Yes.
Let's see. Where did is
Because
this
it's not, that part of that part of
Oh, they
this
cut
Reddit
it
thing
out.
was removed.
Yeah, we'll have to find it. Yeah, so it was a lot of players with weird personalities. Like Rudy Gobert was up there. Jimmy Butler was one of the top 5. Um yeah, it's just people like that. Good players that rub their teammates the wrong way.
And yeah, is what it is. But I'll just say one of my favorites from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, still love them and doing gangbusters in the playoffs. Going to go to the second round. Um,
Yeah, I
that's the
wonder what
funny.
he did to deserve that, Dre. What have you heard about his reputation?
I wonder if it's that he's a number 15 pick that managed to get a big contract. Like,
That might
if
be
it's
it.
if
They're
it's sour
jealous.
grapes.
They're just jealous.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just going like, what this number, like, how is he getting paid better than me? I could buy that. More jealousy than
I
whatever.
think also he's got weird mechanics on his jump shot. He probably gets dinged for that.
That would definitely make sense. He was also, for what it's worth, though, he did tie number eighth with 0.7%. So whatever 0.7 by 200, so 14 players maybe or whatever.
Let's see if we
Um,
can dig this up.
maybe two players voted Tyrese Halliburton as underrated too. So that's an auspicious honor. All right, Brian, we did it. When we're back next, which should be in about 2 weeks, we will see if my Denver Nuggets can hold on. We will see if the Warriors can advance. Any predictions for the playoffs before we head out?
Yeah, I think it will be Oklahoma City. I'm going to stick to our guns.
Oh yeah, that is a real bold choice to say the most statistically dominant team, which I think
That's not what the NBA
Artur-
players think, Dre. They think
Artur-
Boston.
Arturo Galletti and Basketball Reference both have um, Oklahoma as better than even money to win the NBA Finals in the first round of the playoffs. For people that have followed this historically, they should understand how ridiculous that is. It's going, if you could pick OKC or the field, you pick OKC. And that's not normally the case. All right, Brian, this has been the Box Score Geek Show. You can find us at you can find the stats at boxscoregeeks.com. You can find the show, the Box Score Geek Show, any place podcasts are found. We go live usually on alternating Tuesdays, twitch.tv/nerd numbers. And you can find the full unedited show, Brian, at YouTube /at nerd numbers. And then, of course, I put up slightly edited versions, usually a day or two later, on the iTunes feed. Brian Foster, you can find on you see Box. I don't know if you're still even on X. I'm barely on X unless I have to go there to
I'm still
see.
on there for the Calgorithm.
All right,
Yeah,
that's fair.
but
So Box
I
Score
don't
Brian
post.
on X, or formerly known as Twitter, and I believe you are B Foster as a lurker on Blue Sky. So if you see a B Foster like your skeet on Blue Sky, that is Brian. Anything else you want to say, Brian, or are we good to go?
No, I'm loving these playoff series, and I'm good to go.
Thanks for coming, even though you're tired tonight, Brian, and we'll see you in 2 weeks.